Sounds good. Almost. Okay, so the running order for this evening is the welcome, that's this bit, and I'll explain a little bit about what Blue Recovery is and who the Rockpool Project are. Then I'm really excited to introduce you to Simon James, an incredible children's illustrator and author and a family friend who I've known since I was very, very small. That's going to be absolutely amazing. He's going to do some drawing and talk to you about some of his stories. Then we'll have a short break. And after that, we're going to read some Limpet limericks that people have written and sent in to us. That's going to be really exciting. And after that, Louise Firth, who I've just met, really fantastic, lovely lady who's turned up and is going to talk to us all about her research into the effects, impact of limpets on human history. And that's going to be really fascinating. Then I'll come up quickly at the end, wrap up, say thank you, and we can all go home. So who are the Rockpool Project? Well, we are a not-for-profit social enterprise. We were set up 5 years ago when Dr. Ben Holt here and myself came up with the idea. We're old university friends. Many years ago, many years ago, we studied marine biology together at Swansea University. He became a marine biologist. I didn't. I travelled around a bit, lived in London, became a school teacher, and we met back up 5 years ago and really wanted to connect our two passions of working with children, educating people, and marine biology. So the Rockpool Project was founded, and somehow we're here now with over 50 people involved in the Rockpool Project throughout the southwest of the UK. Over the last 4 or 5 years, the Rockpool Project have been responsible for half of the intertidal data collections for Rockpool species. So any record of limpets and things like that from around the southwest of the UK, that is on the National Biodiversity Network, about half of them came through the Rockpool Project. Our team, our volunteers and children and people we work with in community groups. So we're very proud of that and equally proud to put on an evening like this, like tonight. So that's who the Rockpool Project are. What is Blue Recovery? Well, this is the biggest and best thing we've ever done. It's a 2-year National Lottery Heritage funded project in Falmouth and in Plymouth, and its aim is to connect people from certain areas to the local coastline and to marine wildlife. Our research has shown us that people in certain postcodes here and in Falmouth rarely, if ever, go to the beach, let alone go rock crawling and looking for wildlife. And myself, and no doubt many of you in this room, have been lucky enough to be brought up understanding the fun and the joy that that can bring, just going looking in the rock pools, looking under rocks. Not everybody gets that chance. So the Blue Recovery Project is all about giving people that opportunity and exciting them about nature, being outdoors and discovering marine wildlife, whilst also doing some meaningful citizen science. The way I'll explain that even better is through a video, because we're very lucky here tonight that we've got Matthew from Photo Now and Ryan from Photo Now. Photo Now are another community interest company based here in the Royal William Yard. And Photo Now have been helping us to evaluate and document the Blue Recovery Project. We've been going for 7 months and they've been sending videographers and photographers to Falmouth and Plymouth and recording what's going on and recording the impact it's having. And so I'm going to play you 2 short 1-minute clips, which will give you a better oversight and show you some of the stuff we get up to. And wish me good luck, because now I've got to switch Zoom and shared screen and display settings. So here we go. Okay. So we'll start off in Falmouth and you'll get to meet Ben. And let's not forget the people online. Oh, by the way, for people in the room, Ben doesn't always look like that. Sorry, Ben.
Today we are on our Blue Recovery Beach Day, our third Blue Recovery Beach Day, and we are here with some families and with some adults that we call citizen scientists, and we're giving them their first taste of what it is to go and explore these rock pools and to collect some data that we're going to use for our research. So we are marine biologists and we love marine creatures, and we particularly like finding them in rock pools. It's a very easy place to find marine wildlife, and we don't just love finding them for ourselves, we like to introduce people to the wildlife and get them involved in the research that we're doing. It's not just a question of fun, it's a nice escape from a lot of the stresses that we all have to put up with on a day-to-day basis. So that's my main hope, and maybe learn a thing or two about the wildlife as well.
Okay, so that's Falmouth. Now for Plymouth. And let's see what the weather's like in Plymouth. I've just checked my shoes. Oh, sunny.
Today is one of our Blue Recovery Beach Days. We're here at Mountbatten Beach and we've been out rock pooling, taking some people for their very first time out looking under the rocks, looking in the rock pools, and introducing them to incredible wildlife of the rocky shore. And it's all about linking local communities to the local coastline, the local wildlife, exciting people about finding marine creatures, and helping us to document it through citizen science. The Blue Recovery Project has these fantastic beach days once a month for 2 years, both in Plymouth and in Falmouth. But alongside that, we've got lots of other workshops, we've got online training, we've got loads of fun activities. So if you head to the website, you can find out the dates and how to get involved.
You can see how brilliant photo now are. So I think we should give them a big round of applause. Okay, give me a moment. This is where it all goes wrong normally. I've been practicing all day. Here we go. That look like you? What's that? Okay, so thank you very much, both and now, for helping us document this brilliant project. And as you can see, it's not just about going to the beach rock pooling. The Blue Recovery Project is so much more. In a couple of weeks, we've got our first co-development workshop where our Blue Recovery Rangers from Plymouth are going to go to Lostwithiel and meet up with our Blue Recovery Rangers from Falmouth and actually help us to plan out the future of the project. Blue Recovery Rangers, by the way, are people in our target postcodes who have volunteered to step up and be leaders, helping us run the project. And so that's very exciting. In particular, we're going to talk about what we can actually really find out as citizen scientists over the next year, because a lot of our rockpool families and adult citizen scientists who are here tonight actually go rockpooling now almost every day. They've really developed a passion, and so there's some meaningful research we can do together. And we've got talks like this going on as well, all sorts of stuff. If you head to our website, and if you'd like to find out a bit more, you can. Ah, okay, sorry. Let's see. What mesh? Okay, so I need to share. Oh, yeah. Is that better? Showing the PowerPoint now. Yep. Okay. Sorry. Okay. It's going so well. Okay, so most importantly now, we're going to hear from one of our wonderful Rockpool families. I probably didn't explain it clearly enough, but when we go on a beach day in Falmouth or Plymouth, we break off into two groups. We have adult citizen scientists who are really developing their scientific knowledge and doing some really meaningful studies. And we have Rockpool families, and we've designed a really fun educational booklet, and the Rockpool families even sometimes compete against an adult citizen scientist using the app we've built for a bio-blitz battle where different species get different points. And this is a fantastic family. The Borland family have been every month for 7 months with us. They now go out regularly. The two daughters, Ursula and Maisie, were at the Seafood Festival recently with our mobile Rockpool, teaching adults walking past what type of crab they found. So you're going to meet them in a second. There is, Maisie or Amy can't be here, unfortunately. But can we give a big round of applause to Bruce? And they're just going to quickly tell us a bit about how blue recovery has impacted them.
Yes, my name is Ursula, my youngest grandchild. Amazing half-day teaching unwell today, and so my daughter has to stay home with her, but they're watching on Zoom, hopefully. So I'm here just really as someone who has benefited, and my family has benefited from this blue recovery program. It's for many people like myself, who I've been going for a long time. I've been to the beach many times with the whole family, really interested in wildlife from the countryside and musical backgrounds. And we've been to the beach, although mainly swimming and boats and things like that. And we've been in rock pools. I lived in Headlands, I used to go on the beach and collect shells and stones, all sorts of things. I've walked through rock pools, but I was never really caught by them. In that, you know, I just down there, nothing seemed to be happening much. And you know, you'd see the occasional crab or something, and yeah, it looked good, but it never caught my imagination, and I didn't realize just what I was missing. It was only when we found this new recovery program, we all thought, well, this would be great. We're living down here in Plymouth. We go around the place, but what is this rock pool that's so great? So we went along, and that was it. We were totally hooked. I mean, going down there, and you think, as I had done before, the short form. Things seem to happen. You might be lucky to see some tiny fish going along like that, or a dead crab. And you know, you grab the imagination, but then suddenly you get someone who comes along with you and says, well, no, you're in there. If you could look and just lift the stone up carefully, and you do that, suddenly the place is like a jungle. I mean, it's just imagine, it's like going into the jungle that you've never been in before, and it's full of wildlife. I mean, not just the occasional monkey or something shouting. This is just alive with things coming out of all the places and rearing up and hiding away and doing all sorts of things. And it's just such an adventure. And it's for all ages. I mean, I'm 76 and she's 6. We're both enjoying the whole thing like that. And the whole thing is completely taken with us. It's just so much fun. And as Alan was saying, the girls have picked up so much information. I'm listening to them and learning from them now. Just churning it up. We had that mobile rock pools more than once. We've had mobile rock pools, and maybe particularly we just love talking. Well, not you don't. Coming out of all these things that I couldn't encourage you enough. If you're living in this area and you feel that, feel one adult or child, or like me and my second childhood, it's really worth going. As long as you're mobile enough to get in there, it is just fantastic. You come away each time. I mean, see, it's like detective work. You go down there, you lift this up, and oh, what is that? And you look at the book, oh, there's something. Oh my goodness, that's my nose before. And then the next time someone comes over, and you see this thing, crab thing with the wings going everywhere, and hairy bits of seaweed all over it. And then you look at the colours of that seaweed. I mean, first of all, when you look at when you've gone into the rock pool, just looking, it's just sort of that brown seaweed stuff that's always there. You get in the sea, and it gets all around your legs, and you think, oh, it's all brown there. It's in there, it's all coloured. Delightful colours. And just, I don't know, You can tell I'm enthusiastic. I would say thank you very much, Blue Recovery, for introducing us to a new world. It's like dinosaur world out there too, and it's a battleground as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Does Ursula want to say what a couple of things are, do you think?
Do you know what any of these are? A cooking star, yes. What about that one?
You're right, it's a type of sea snail.
Sea snail, yeah, well, it could well be. I think it is. Did you see it?
I bet you know the one over there on the left.
Which one? Which one? This one?
Is it the one?
Star of Simeon, yes.
And what about the candy striped cat one?
Oh, this was Maisie's favourite. We found this one, the only one we found so far down in the beach down here. You know what this is?
Brilliant.
And also there's the science we're doing as well. So not only are we just having great fun, we're also actually contributing to something useful in the marine environment conservation area, which is just wonderful. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much there, Theo and Bruce. That was really fantastic, and hopefully just to show you a little bit about the impact Blue Recovery is having and what wonderful people we're lucky enough to work with. Ursula's older sister Maisie did find this candy striped flatworm, and I'm pretty sure the Rockpool Project over 5 years throughout Cornwall and Devon has never found one before. So that's pretty exciting. And all of these species we found between us here in Plymouth. We've got coral here, a St. Piran's hermit crab, a beautiful feather star we found just here at Firestone Bay a few weeks ago. So like Bruce said, it really is like a rainforest. When you get down there and explore with other people and you learn more and get to know what you're looking for, the biodiversity is really breathtaking. And hopefully from the last sort of 15 minutes or so, we've managed to get across that it's not just about the wildlife, it's about people. Because even though we're passionate about the wildlife as the Rockpool Project, we understand that with the environmental emergency we're facing, unless more people start to care passionately about wildlife, that won't change. So it's about having fun, about learning about wildlife, and about community and friendships and fun. Now on to something very fun. I'm really, really over the moon that Simon has said he's happy to come along today. I have known him for a long time. Our story goes back some way thanks to my dad, actually, who sat at the back of the room hiding. Both my parents are retired primary school head teachers. And the story, as far as I understand it, was in 1890-ish. Dad was in a pub playing with his band. Simon was at the bar drinking the water. And they got talking. And Simon said, I'm a children's illustrator and author. And Dad said, have you ever been into school and worked with the kids? And I said, not really, not yet. So Dad said, come into our school, Langley in Southway. And in Simon went, and Simon hopefully will tell you himself, but that pretty much boosted the enjoyment that he gets and changed his career, because Simon now does this as a living. He goes around and talks to kids and meets children in the schools, definitely around the UK, and I'm pretty sure internationally as well. So can we get a huge round of applause for Simon James?
I really hate those people with mobile phones. First time I've ever done that. Thank you, Alan. Indeed, I did know Alan when he was a very small chap, and his father, Paul, I did meet him in a pub, and he got me to go to his school. I was terrified of children at that time and talking to them in a group, but Mr. Smith over there is such a natural teacher, a natural communicator. All I had to do was watch how we work with people, work with children, and let it rub off on me. It was a wonderful experience. But on top of that, he also invited me to go on many of his twice yearly trips with a class of children out into the wild. And I think basically they were the happiest days of my life, actually, those times. They were all just so happy, immersed in the wood and the rivers and the seashore, that it was, I don't know, I can't explain it. So it was just so moving to be with it and so joyful every day. So I completely understand where Alan was coming from in encouraging children and adults to be by the sea together exploring. Wonderful. Of course, today I feel a bit of a fraud coming here and speaking to you all because we've got a professor of Limpets coming on in a minute, and well, I only know 2 things about Limpets, and neither of them did I learn at school. But anyway, we'll try and see what happens. I will let you know what those 2 things are as we go along. I made a story called Sally and the Limpets. It started when I met a girl, which is not unusual for me, I suppose, in those days. It was a long time ago, I have to say. I was at art college and in town, and I met a lovely girl, and in a queue in a shop, and I said, rather brazenly, I said, would you like to go out to the beach today? It's a nice day. And she said yes, surprisingly enough. And so we got into my lovely old white white little MG, an MG midget with the top on. And we drove out to Wembley. It was a beautiful day. And we got out of the car and we ran down the beach hand in hand. Our hair was flowing in the breeze. Bum, 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 bum. I'm sure you know what it's like. And we got down to some Rockpool, sure enough, at Wembley. And there was a little girl there, and she was trying to pull limpets off the rocks. And of course, she couldn't do it. But my girlfriend, as she becomes just in a few 20 minutes or an hour that I've met her, optimistically, she found this limpet lying on the floor, upside down, or the shell at least, anyway. And well, she picked it up. No, I realised no, it wasn't. It was actually had a limpet inside. It's very rare. That's why I've just remembered. I'm sorry. She picked it up, and there was a limpet inside, but the shell was upside down. Which I've never actually seen ever again. And she gave it to the little girl in the palm of her hand, upside down. And the limpet inside the shell wanted to suck onto something, and it suddenly went, and it made the little girl jump, and she let it go, and it fell to the sand. And that's all that happened, actually. Because I went home, I dropped Sally off somewhere, where she did something, my friend off, and then I got home and I started to draw. And I started to draw this little girl that I remembered who was on the beach. I didn't know why particularly. I'm sorry, Al, can I ask you to be my tripod? Of course. When you type. You ever done this before? No. Are you qualified? Not at the moment, enough. There you go. So I drew this little girl. Doing very well, Al. Thank you very much, mate. I've been practicing. And I just drew her on the beach. She had a fishing net in her hand at the time. Not quite. Pair of shorts. She's in a rock pool. We've got a bit of sand and a bit of seaweed lying around. And a few rocks, of course. How you doing, Alan? All right? Yeah, quite well. I think I'm a full-time job here. Now, when I finished that, I thought, well, I'd like to pursue this story, see if it is a story, but it certainly isn't a story as yet. So I went down to the library. This is a long time ago, before I even had a computer. And in the library, I looked up books about the seashore, and I learned just 2 things about limpets. And they just really, really made me know that I had a story. So what I did next was, I'm just going to leave Alan up there like that. I can see he's straining. So I made a little dummy, which is what I do. And you can't see this very well in here, but I just make them out of pencil. and I can rub them out anytime I like, and put a new page in. Okay, and when I finished all of that, I took it up to my publishers, and they read the story and they said, rubbish, I'm not going to do this. No, that's not true. They said they liked it. And so I went away and did my story. And of course, I gave it away, didn't I? But I never knew the name of the girl. But I did know the name of my girlfriend at the time.
What's her name?
It's a good sign, isn't it? And her name was Sally. Thank you. And what I did was, when I got the contract for my publishing, I started to draw. I draw with a dip pen. I had to dip it into ink and start to draw. I dip it back into ink and start to draw. I like these pens. They take a little time to learn to use, but they're very expressive. You get very fat and thin lines with them. After I drew them, well, like this. This is one of the ones I drew at the time.
Simon.
All right. So once I've drawn all the pictures, of course I'm ready to paint. And I use watercolors. This is my tiny little set of traveling watercolors. I have a much bigger set at home, of course. I love to. And eventually I come out with a colour version of what I want. It does look like one from the book. Do you know why that is? It is. Well done. It hasn't been though, because it's got a separate piece of paper and the pictures are put together. So once I finished all the pictures all the way through, and of course I made lots of mistakes, and I have to do them, and I cross sometimes, and other times it all works like magic, and that's great. But eventually, it printed, and it came out a Sally and the Limpet, and I'd like to share that with you right now. And some of you are a bit old to read too, but I'm going to do it anyway. I've got the paper in my hand, haven't I?
You did have.
Can I get you to do it?
Yeah, of course you can.
I can do this help. So if I wave like that, are you okay to?
Next slide, please.
Okay, that's how I'm used to doing it. Yeah. He's known me so long. No, well, that one.
Oh.
So this is the title page. And of course, when you design a title page, you still have to think about what information you're going to put onto it and the lettering, and what you want to give away before people turn to the first name. And so not long ago, on a Sunday, Sally was down on the beach exploring when she saw a bigger than usual limpet shell. I forgot to say that I dedicated this book. It says, for Sally and when drinking. And nice. I was reading it for 30 years. Okay. And when she saw a bigger than usual limpet shell, of course she wanted to take it home, but as she pulled the limpet, it made a funny little squelching noise. And held on tightly. I've got to tell you actually. This isn't the limpet. I just nicked it from the display up there. I'll put it back on the beach. Okay, so they made a funny squelching noise. So Sally pulled harder and harder until she slipped and fell over into the wall. She gathered herself together and she looked at her down at her hand because it felt a little bit strange. And there she saw the limpet was now stuck to her finger, and you can see it happening just there. Sally pulled with all her might, but the limpet just made a funny little sculpting noise and held on tightly. So she ran over to her dad, the fairly big guy. He heaved and he groaned, but the limpet just made that funny little sculpting noise and held on tightly. So that afternoon, Sally went home with her dad in the car with a limpet stuck to her finger. It's a gripping story. When they got home, her dad tried using the tools of his tool. Her brother tried offering the limpet some lettuce and cucumber. But that night, Sally went to bed with a limpet stuck. The next day, it was school. Sally waved goodbye to her mum as she ran around the corner of school. She ran past the three-legged swing. A young child at school once told me, he put his hand up and said, "You've only drawn 3 legs on the swing." And I had a look and I realised he was right. Yes. He walks with a limp. When Sally got to school, all her friends tried putting the limpet up her finger, but they couldn't do it. And then into the room came a teacher, Mr. Wobblyman. Named after a Salisbury Road teacher who's called Mr. Wobblyman, who had no sense of humor whatsoever. None at all. Somebody know him?
Really?
That's it. I used to go into his class sometimes and do a little talk, and I used to call him back Mr. Wobblyman, and they were terrible. Don't call him that, don't call him that. That's the children. Feel like in trouble? Probably. Did I get a what? Did I get
The root.
No, that was in my younger days. When I was at school. So, Mr. Wobblyman, he came into the class and he did not try to pull the limpet off Sally's finger. He said, "Limpets live," fact number 1, for 20 years. 20 years. And they live all their lives. Fact number 2, the only other thing I know. Sorry, Louise. I hope these facts are right, actually.
So do I.
Yes, and they live all their lives on the same rock, in roughly the same place. I knew they moved slightly to feed, but they moved back to the same place. The shell's actually grown back the fingernail to actually fit back to the spot. Am I right, Louise? Yeah. Oh, I'm so worried coming here today. In the afternoon, Sally's mum took Sally to the hospital to see the doctor. He called her into his room and he tried injections, he tried potions, he tried creams, he tried a big pair of pliers. But nothing worked, and Sally was beginning to feel more and more upset. She realized she had to take the matter into her own hands. She kicked over the doctor's chair and she ran out of his room. She ran down the endless corridors of the hospital. She just wanted to be on her own. Do you know that feeling? What's it? Sally ran out of the hospital and through the town. She ran through the town down to the place she loved best, which was, of course, the beach. Well done. When she got to the beach, she didn't stop. She ran right through someone's sandcastle. She even ran over a big man. You see her footprint on the side? Terrible. When Sally reached the water, she didn't stop. She just jumped in with all her clothes. Sally landed with a big splash. And then she just sat quietly in the water. And the limpet, feeling at home in the swamp, made a funny little splash. And it wiggled off Sally's finger. You can see it happening just there. Sally was pleased. She didn't forget what Mr. Wobblyman had said and teach her. And so she carefully looked through the water and found the limpet, and she picked it up very carefully this time by the top of its shell. And she carried it back across the beach, past the man that she walked over. And then gently, and I mean very gently, she put the limpet back on the very same rock, in the exact same place where she found it the day before. And finally, coming to herself, she took the long way home across the beach. And that's the end of Sally's story. Right, is that enough? Do another one? I haven't got any other books about Limpets. I would like to show you my latest book. Is that all right? If I just show you my latest book? Yeah. Mr. Scruff, I don't know it extremely well, although I've read it thousands of times, most of the time checking over. I've got to actually come and do it. Did I do what? No, take any photos of it? No, not really. Not really. I let the printer make lots of scans of it. Okay, this is a very different story. I'm not going to tell you how I got with it. I was just at my drawing board thinking about how dogs look like their owners and owners look like their dogs. But it is still, as Alan says, about people. Mr. Scruff. This is Polly. She belongs to Polly. This is Erin. He belongs to Darren. And this is Martha. She belongs to Arthur. But who's this? It's Mr. Scruff. And Mr. Scruff. But Mr. Scruff, there's no. But this is me. And he belongs to Rick. And this is Lawrence. And he belongs to Florence. But things are looking rough for poor old Mr. Scruff. Wait a minute. Who's this? It's Jim. They seem to like each other. But Jim says, Dad, are you sure? He's so big and you're so small. I can't see it working. No, not at all. He's so old, says Mum, and you're so young. Surely I can't make it more fun. No, says Jim. He needs a home, a place to call his very own. That's what he needs, and that's enough for me. And Mr. Scruff. So whilst Polly has Molly, Eric has Derek, Martha has Arthur, Nick has Rick, Lawrence has Florence. Now, Mr. Scruff belongs to Jim. I know it doesn't rhyme. It's all worked out just fine. But wait a minute. Who's this? It's Mr. Gruff. He's come to choose a dog. Here's a little pup. They seem to like each other. I'm so big and you're so small, but that doesn't matter. Oh, not at all. Mr. Gruff is happy. It's the perfect dog for him. Can you guess the puppy's name? Well, of course, it's Ian. That's his story. Thank you for listening. It's lovely to share.
Thanks, Simon.
See, I told you it'd be good. Thanks so much, Simon. Real honour to have you through doing that. Thanks, Adrian. Brilliant. Well, that's only half time. We're going to have about a 6-minute break. And then after that, we're going to hear some Limpet lyrics and then some incredible research and fascinating stories from Louise before we wrap up. So grab yourself a drink, go to the loo, see you in 6 minutes. Thank you.
Lot to think about.
Everybody, we're going to get cracking. Thank you very much for sticking around. And sorry, that was a long 6 minutes. I can see my mother frowning in the corner of the room. But it's just such a wonderful atmosphere in here. People on Zoom, hopefully you can sort of sense that. It's just lovely. We've got people meeting each other for the first time, talking to each other, friendships, connections, some discussion about Limpets. But that's what Blue Recovery is all about. It's all about connection. So, Mother, Mum, I'll argue that it was a deliberate extension of the 6 minutes. Sorry for those people on Zoom. Okay, so before we hear some really fascinating information, tales and research from Louise, I'd just like to talk to you a little bit about a Limpet limerick competition that we've run. And actually, before we do that, can I just check, is Talia here? We've got Talia. Are you here? Brilliant. How would you like to be or would you like me to? Would you like? I can give you a written copy to read them if you like. Really? Okay, that's great. Thank you. So we're going to hear 6 limericks, and this whole idea is inspired from someone who came on Blue. In fact, it was our first ever person on Blue Recovery in Plymouth. Mike, who's this wonderful chap, walked up to Olivia, Zach, and myself working in the greenhouse, which is in the plot on Union Street, owned by Nudge, which Hannah, you might recognise over there, has got a huge part to play in. And we're really, really delighted that Nudge has partnered with us on this project, along with the Marine Biological Association, the Mount Acton Water Sports Centre. And of course, all this wouldn't be possible without the funding from the Heritage, National Lottery Heritage Fund. So with help from a huge network of people, we got to meet Mike. He came straight in, banging on the greenhouse, rock crawling. I'm interested in rock crawling, I'd like to come along. So Mike's come along, done a lot of rock crawling with us. And on our last community talk in Plymouth, Mike very bravely got up and put the camera in front of the room, which was a lot smaller than this, and read out some limericks he'd written. And that inspired us to then host a little competition to the local school at St George's and to other people online. So, Mike, would you like to come and do a limerick or two of your own? Can we give a big round of applause for Mike?
That's it, superstar.
So the original limerick is I did at the end of a 2-minute talk. This one, a scientifically dubious limerick, but for those that don't know, the thing about the limpets grind onto the rock and then they get covered by the tide, they go to the walk and they leave a slime trail which they follow back. So we have to know that to understand. A lovelorn young limpet called Lee wrote a note for his neighbour to see. Rock trails and slime. Dear anemone, I'm so beguiled, will you please marry me? Well, let's do one more. The mischievous limpets of blue like to hide themselves just out of view. Then, when they hear that you're getting near, they pop round the rock and say, "Good." Thank you, Mike. Stick around, stick around. Thank you, Mike. And Charlie, would you like to come and read your amazing name? Can we give a big round of applause? Can we go over here, Barbara, if you want to be seen? It's up to you.
I was keeping 5 as a limpet. There once was a limpet who was so content, laying within its tiny homemade indents. Surrounded by the briny, the limpet whispered, "Try me," making it hold even tighter with wilful intent.
Thank you very much. Great stuff. And then we've got 4 entrants from St George's Primary School up the road in Stonehouse. And I'm really, really delighted to say that Millie Maloney is here. First time we've met. And she's going to volunteer with the Rockpool Project from now on. So that's even more exciting. Millie's going to come up and read, take it in terms of Mike reading 3 other entrants from the school. And then someone who you might have met before, Jojo's going to come and read his at the end. So, Millie, would you like to come in? If you want to just quickly tell me what you did in school first of all, you're very welcome.
Yeah, so we decided that the class would enter the Limpets competition. We were learning about seashore at the time, and we went down to Rockshore and had a little Rockshore ourselves. And we came back and wrote our limericks. It was very hard to choose the winners to us to submit to you. Here are 4 of them. So this is the first one. By Ida, page 7. I once met a limpet called Bruno who likes to play the game Uno. He won every time and celebrated his rhyme. That lucky old limpet named Bruno.
Thank you, Millie. Umbrella 86 composed the following. I once met a limpet called Pip, whose home was the hull of a ship. He got swallowed by a whale and left a slime trail. That poor old limpet named Pip.
Oh yeah, we did illustrate it as well. And this is by Nara in page 6. I once met a limpet called Joe, and he was incredibly slow. He moved like a slug and ate lots of bugs. That crazy old limpet named Joe.
Brilliant. And Jojo, would you like to come and do yours?
Yeah.
Can we give him a big clap? Jojo, give us a big grin to the camera.
They ran away and left me to say that poor old, that really old limpet called.
Right, well done, Joe. Thank you.
You don't get any submitted online, or we'll be all right.
I love poems. I decided in the short braids and right.
Thanks, Amos.
All right, the first one that I wrote was this. There once was a limpet named Dave. He lived in a small rocky cave. When you've got prawns for friends, the fun never ends as he watches them surfing the waves. And I have a second one. Once on a large rock there sat a limpet with a nice huge hat. Then one day there came a wave with one aim to give said limpet a pat. And then, actually, I'm quite surprisingly, my mum actually wrote one. Rockpool life can be thrilling, but not when dog whelps come drilling. Limpets beware, you're in for a scare. Dog whelp attacks can be thrilling.
Oh, great. Okay, so we've heard lots of lyrics, more than we expected, which is amazing. I've got some very special prizes here. I don't know if you can see, let's show the camera. These are very special, unique Limpet trophies. 3D printed for us, kindly from Plymouth University. We've got a gold limpet, a silver limpet, and a bronze limpet.
And they all come with one of our Rockpool bingo cards where you can actually go to the beach, play bingo. And if you want to, you can go home and then upload them and actually submit a real scientific survey after having a fun game on the beach. So Louise is very kindly going to come and award these. Let's start with bronze. I think in third place, can we give a huge round of applause, please, to Talia?
It's actually Talia's second Limpet award.
You've got to tell us about that.
Well, we did a project at school. I'm in university. Where we did Sabulera alvelata, and which is the honeycomb worm, which you might see on our lovely shore. And you awarded us for a 5-minute video with a gold limpet.
Yes.
That's we're impersonating Louise.
Brilliant. Big round of applause to Talia. Okay, silver. And coming from the back of the pack, last minute, without a doubt. Hamish! Well done, Hamish.
Yeah. What are they going to do? What are they going to do?
Well, unfortunately, they're actually crying out in the courtyard now. Well done, Hamish. Brilliant. And now the gold limpet, the biggest limpet in Plymouth, I'd imagine.
Well, that is by far the biggest limpet in Plymouth.
And therefore the strongest. So strong. I'm not sure I can even. Oh, got it. This, without a doubt, has to go along with the bingo card to Jojo. Right, thank you all the Limpets, everyone who's been to deliberate, but also particularly to Millie and St George's School for really getting started and enjoying it. Now, I'm so excited about this. We've only just met this evening, but I've heard all about Louise's work. We've got some brilliant volunteers at the Rockpool Project who are studying with Louise at Plymouth University, and they're forever telling me about Louise, about how lovely she is, her incredible work. And so it's a real delight to meet you, and I can't wait to hear what you're going to say. So can we give a big round of applause to Dr. Louise?
Seriously though, thank you so much, Alan, and the Rockpool Project for the opportunity to be here. I genuinely am so excited when I got the invite. I was like, I'm here. So no, really, really pleasure to be here. So I'm here today to tell you about why limpets are the rock stars of the rocky shore. So I am a marine biologist. I am interested in how organisms interact with each other and their environments, but that also includes humans. I'm one of the lucky few who turned rock pooling into a career. I was told it can only be a hobby. That's not true. You can make a very fruitful, fun, and happy and successful career out of rock pooling. I am proof of that. There they are, the lists. Very familiar to you all. I do not need to say it again. We've already heard about it. So I did my PhD on limpets. Those of you who've done research projects or done projects in school, you often feel a bit of a connection to the organism that you work on. And I certainly did that. While I was doing my project, people used to get very excited about the fact that I was a marine biologist. They would be like, wow, you're a marine biologist. Do you work on sharks? Do you work on dolphins? What do you work on? And I would say, limpets. Oh. Visible disappointment a lot of the time. Most of the time, the connection that people had to limpets was this. Oh, yeah. Most people would say, oh, yeah, limpets. They're those things that I used to kick off the rocks when I was a kid. Honestly, vast majority of the time, this was the common connection that people had. And I was like, no, don't kick them off the rocks. They live for nearly 20 years. Oh, don't do that. People were, yeah. But the thing is, you have to get them first time or they clamp down. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. So just leave them, don't kick them. One person even said to me, oh, this is annoying.
No, it's all right, I can get.
Okay.
Oh. Hold on.
One person even said to me,
Bear with us. Is that working now?
up there, oh my God, why would you work on such boring animals for 3 years? And I was like, all right, okay. Back then, I was like, okay, I need to finish my PhD, I need to get on and get a job and a career and move on with my life. But I vowed back then, when the time came, when I had a career and I was successful, I would fly the flag for the limpets and raise the profile of limpets. So here we are tonight. I think this is very much a celebration of limpets, which I'm very happy to be a part of. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit of information about why limpets are important. Not just to the environment, the natural environment that they operate in, but also in the lives of humans. Okay, so humans are just part of the ecosystem as well, and we interact with the marine environment. We are very much part of it. We are not a separate species. We engage with the marine environment. And Simon spoke earlier about how his books are very much about humans as well, and the environment, of course, involves humans. Fun facts. Okay, we're talking about the natural environment now. Okay, let's leave humans out of it for now. Did you know that the teeth of limpets are composed of one of the strongest materials in nature? This is an image of what's called a radula. So limpets have this ribbon with these hundreds of tiny little teeth. And the tips of these teeth are really sharp and they're coated with this material called goethite. One of the strongest materials in nature, stronger than spider silk. That strong teeth, those strong teeth, enable limpets to be massive champion grazers. Okay, this is a loving limpets image, very in theme with the theme of this evening. This is seaweed here in the image. Okay, you can see all of the limpets around it. The radula of a limpet basically sort of operates like a ribbon like this. You can imagine all those tiny little teeth with tipped with really hard material. They do a really good job scraping algae, seaweed off the rock. If you remove the limpets from the situation, seaweed will thrive. Okay, limpets keep the seaweed in check. If you went down to the shore today and if there was some event that killed off all the limpets, within months it would be covered in seaweed. Okay, limpets are really, really important for controlling the growth of seaweed. That strong material on their teeth is also really important for creating home scars. We already heard about the fact that limpets can home. Okay, they go back to the same little scar on the lock and after feeding. And you can see these home scars really obviously in this image here. Here's one live limpet, but there was one there and there was one there. If you look really closely, you can actually see the teeth marks in the rock there. Do you see that? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's how hard the teeth are. You can actually see it eroding the rock. Has anyone been lucky enough to get out to Plymouth Breakwater? Did you get permission? This erosion of the rock is actually really, really evident on Plymouth Breakwater. Okay, this is a heritage structure, very important to the city. I won't go as far as to say that limpets are undermining the structure, but you can see some really good evidence of limpets eroding the rocks on Plymouth Breakwater. This is an image from the seaward side of Plymouth Breakwater. It's made of two different types of blocks, harder granite that you can see here, and softer limestone. Limestone is a much softer rock. Each of those little green blocks that you're looking at, that's a limpet. Each of those limpets is eroding the rock by turning its shell. It's also rasping away with its radula.
Note the erosion. Do you see these little pools that have been created? That is primarily driven by limpet graves. Okay, they are creating those hits in the rock. Okay, I'm not saying that they're endangering the integrity of the breakwater, but look at the differences. You've got different species living in the pools than you do on rock. So they're very important in driving differences in terms of the biota, the biology that's living here and living here. So they are what we would refer to as ecosystem engineers. They're engineering the environment to make space and resources for other species. This was actually captured in the media a few years ago. A study came out that basically quantified the erosion rates of limpets around the White Cliffs of Dover. Iconic, British landscape. The study found that in certain areas where you had high numbers of limpets, up to 35% of the erosion was driven by limpets. The Guardian got hold of this, and would you look at the headline, "Limpets threaten the coast." Talk about sensationalism. I'm not going to read it out, but basically they took the information from this paper and they were sort of making out that limpets were threatening the British coastline. Over-egging it a bit, I would say, but it is just showing you that limpets actually, they don't just graze algae, they have a structuring role and they have a role in eroding rock effectively, and that can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on the organism in mind. They garden, okay? I've just come back from South Africa, lucky me. South Africa is one of the most amazing places on earth for limpets. In some locations, up to 22 species coexist in one place. As a result of the high numbers of species, they're very special. Okay, they have special adaptation to enable them to live in such high numbers. This species here, which is called the pear limpet, and I have some examples of some on the back here. Okay, these guys can live for 35 years. They don't move from the spot that they're on. Okay, this one here has a little juvenile living on its shell. Do you note the red around it? The red is seaweed. It's their favorite species of seaweed that they like to eat. They basically garden their favorite species. This individual will spend 35 years spinning on the spot. They don't move anywhere, okay? They encourage this seaweed. They basically fertilize it with their mucus. We've already talked about the slime that limpets produce. And they will also cut through it, okay, just like you might mow your lawn. Okay, that keeps the seaweed in maximum growth. Okay, so they're effectively gardening their own food. If this one came in and decided it wanted to eat from this patch, this one would fight. They're very territorial. Yeah, they'll actually, it's called bulldozing. They basically slam into each other and they'll slam down on each other's shells. The slam them, yeah, exactly. So they garden. Okay, fun fact about limpets. Oops.
Sorry, I'm trying to at the same time. Go on, over to you.
They're also prey. They're food for other organisms. Familiar species to people locally here. This is the oyster catcher. They actually feed more on limpets than they feed on oysters. They should be called the limpet catcher. Other predators of limpets are crabs, and in some locations you also get fish predators as well. So they're important as food for other organisms. But they don't just sit there and wait to get eaten. Okay? Occasionally they can actually fight back. And if you'll entertain me for a moment, this is an excerpt from an Irish paper from 1911, and it's referring to the Fiat cornea. Okay, so this is a particular species of algae, the China limpet, which you guys no doubt will have seen on your rock cutting missions. This species, I think, is probably territorial. Okay, and I'm just going to read this out. This is basically a story about the limpet protecting itself when it's being preyed upon, trying to be eaten by a rat. No, I'm from Ireland, so I can put on the accent. This is very west of Ireland. Of a soft evening, the bornucks, that's the Irish word for a limpet, do rise up and go travelling a bit over the rocks. And the rat will come up and slip her tongue to lick the meat. And the bornuc will clap down its shell and catch her by the tongue.
And I tell you, the power of man couldn't use the hold of the barnacle. And the rat is caught there till the tide comes up and drowns him. I see them myself, hanging there by the tongue, and they dead. How about that? Limpets are not just sitting ducks. They do not just let rats come up and eat them. They are well able to raise their shell, clamp down, and trap the tongue of rats that might be feeding them. Yes, they will also do this to cats. There are records of cats being drowned on the shore by being trapped by the tongue, and also birds by their claws. Limpets are not just sitting ducks, they can fight back. They are what we refer to as a key species on shores. Okay, so you have limpets in the center, they feed on prey, so seaweed. They have predators, crabs, birds that feed on them. They also have competitors. Competitors here on the right-hand side. There's the limpet on the right in the red. It's competing with those mussels for space. Okay, the limpet's holding its own, happens to a heart-shaped little area that's protecting. But also importantly, let's introduce humans to the story. Okay, now it's time to bring in the humans. Humans will eat crabs, they'll eat birds, they'll eat fish that prey on limpets, but humans will also collect limpets for their own purposes. Okay, whether it's food or other trinkets, necessities that they like.
Bit random, isn't it?
So they're food. Okay, we eat limpets. We don't necessarily eat them here in the UK, well, not in many places, but in some places they're classed as a delicacy. In the Azores, for instance, off the coast of Portugal, this is where this image is taken from, you pay a lot of money to eat limpets. Okay, they are a very, very popular species to eat. So much so that they've nearly driven them to extinction. They feature in one of the greatest survival stories of all time. This year, we've all heard the story about Shackleton and the Endurance. The Endurance was found earlier this year. Did you know that Shackleton's men were eating limpets at the time that they were actually rescued from Elephant Island? Wow. Yes, they were. Here's a quote. Okay, so this is a quote from Shackleton's book, South, and this captures the moment when the boat came around the corner to rescue them. The whoosh pot with our precious limpets and seaweed was kicked over in the rush. There, just rounding the island, we saw a little ship carrying the Chilean flag. The moment they were captured, sorry, the moment they were rescued, they were eating limpets. Wow. I think that's kind of good. Limpets featuring one of the greatest survival stories of all time. I'm from Ireland. We consider limpets pork. We call it bia bucht. Bucht means pork, bia being food. I grew up with this association that you don't eat limpets because that's poor food, you know, you can't eat them. And this stems from the fact that in Ireland, during the many famines in the 1800s, many people survived through eating limpets. This is an image from the Illustrated London News from the 1880s, and it's showing you people picking food off the shore, and it's actually entitled Limpet Picking from the Shore. Okay. The association of limpets and poor food and famines is so strong in Ireland that there are a number of proverbs, old sayings about limpets and famines. And this one here just captures it quite well. Shocking shock on Torna, no as Barnack is Fahavich, which basically translates as avoid the public house or you'll end up poor and eating limpets. So it's a bit of a warning, stay away from the drink or things might go badly for you and you'll end up eating limpets because limpets are classed as poor food. They're also highly valued as bait. Depending on where you are in the United Kingdom, limpets, you have particular species of limpets. In the northeast, which is where this image is from, in Yorkshire, these women are referred to as flicker lasses. Flickers being the local term for limpets. Tela vulgata, the common limpet, which you see very regularly here, they are brilliant to bait. And people would like to use them a lot. They used to get collected from the shores in Yorkshire and then get shipped off to other parts in the south where they didn't have rocky shores. So they were basically providing bait to people in the southeast where there aren't any rocky shores. They also feature in many examples of folklore and religious and spiritual traditions. I could speak all night about the various examples, but just to give you one, this is Raven. So the Haida Gwaii people who are from the west coast of Canada. Raven is a central feature in their folklore, and it's thought that the Haida Gwaii people were created by two clamshells. They were two women. The women thought, well, this is useless. We need a man to produce a population, so we need a man. Raven took a limpet shell, threw it at the two women to turn one of them into a man, thus producing the Haida Gwaii culture and people. So quite a nice example of how limpets feature very heavily in folklore in Canada. There are lots and lots of examples. I can tell you more if you're interested after the talk. And last but not least, the word limpet is pretty much synonymous with tenacity. Okay, you say limpet, you think tenacity, you think sucking onto the rocks. If you look in dictionaries and you look for the synonyms, the similar words to tenacity, you get all of these kind of words that you see on the screen here. I would argue that those are all very positive words. They're all sort of terms that you'd like to be associated with as a human being. We had Simon reading about Sally and the limpet. I think a lot of these terms very much linked to Sally and also the limpet. A lot of stories about limpets. Limpets feature, this concept about tenacity features very heavily in art and literature. There's a very long list of famous artists and authors that feature limpets, usually linked to this theme. And I think it's a very nice theme to end on, thinking about the importance of limpets in human resolve and perseverance, hanging in there and having a bit of heart and bravery. So I would just like to finish by saying thank you very much. I started this talk with saying that I set out during my PhD to fly the flag for Limpets. I think I've been doing that since 2002. And thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you. I have brought, I wrote a paper on the human side of this, which was published last year. I have a few copies of the paper printed at the back, and I also have some summary posters. There's definitely enough for everyone here for the posters. Please do take them with you and have a read. My goal with the paper was to inform people about the importance of limpets in people's lives, and I hope it makes you laugh and smile as well. It certainly made me laugh and smile on researching. Yeah, thank you.
Wow, Louise, that was incredible, really brilliant, and so proud and delighted that you could join us tonight. Can we give Louise another big clap? I don't know about you and people online, but it feels to me like this would just be the first one, and we do this every week for a few weeks. There's so many more stories from Simon. I'd love to hear so much more. I'd love to learn from Louise, and I'd like to hear more from Bruce and from Ursula. Millie, I know there's loads more children in your school that can read out their limericks. Everybody's ready. Mike, thank you for inspiring us all with the limerick idea a long time ago, and look at what it's done now. It's really brilliant. So I've tried to touch upon a few people I'd like to thank, but really, I think hopefully everybody who's come along tonight has really enjoyed the evening, perhaps learned a little bit, had a bit of fun, maybe met a new friend or two. And that's what Blue Recovery is all about. So please keep your eyes peeled if you can. We've got a website, the Blue Recovery email if you'd like to get in touch. If you'd like to find out how to get involved, everything's on the website, or email us. We've got social media. Simon is offering signed books. If you'd like to buy one or two, come and see him. He's got them up there. Go to all of them. Like all of them. You saw Louise's contact details up there. Please keep an eye. The first time I found out about you, Louise, was on Twitter, and the things Louise put out is, like she said, cartoon strips about her research, really engaging ways of learning what she's studying. Thanks to the Rockpool Project volunteers that are here. We've got lots of them in the yellow shirts. Some not in yellow shirts, but without all your time, passion and expertise, the Rockpool Project wouldn't exist. And we've got lots online as well down in Palmer. So can we give a big round of applause to them? Thank you. I hope you've all enjoyed it. I've absolutely loved it. Please stick around, say hello to other people, chat to Simon, chat to Louise. And thanks to Aaron for organising the whole thing. Thank you, Mike, and thanks everyone down in Falmouth on doing, particularly Ben. Can we all say get well because he's got COVID at the moment? So all right, thanks everyone. It's been a real treat to see you all. Thanks ever so much. Hope to see you again. Keep your eyes peeled and come rock balling with us.
Which are really cool, and you can upload your board time spot and we'll way, and then you can upload them onto the website the climate survey and
Thanks, Dave. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a lovely evening.
That was great.
Thank you. Yeah, it was